Hello, infinite eternal consciousness. Thank you so much for dropping by this video. This is a response to a question on Quora. What do advanced non-dual teachers think of the law of attraction? Wow, what a question. First and foremost, I would say that the phrase advanced non-dual teachers, bad idea, bad way of thinking, not helpful way of thinking. Because the thing is non-duality, Advaita Vedanta, true non-duality, and I'll talk about in one moment what I mean by that. It doesn't really matter what particular teachers think about a specific topic. Non-duality is a very consistent, clear message. It's been pretty much the same since it was formulated by Adi Shankara. That's not to say that different teachers won't have different flavor to how they express it, but it's very consistent and very clear. And sadly, non-duality as taught in the West, and to some extent in other places in the world today, isn't actually non-duality. If you've ever attended something called a satsang, you probably haven't, and it's oftentimes a non-dual satsang. What you've probably attended is a Neo-Advaita satsang, which is in essence a very watered down version of non-duality, so watered down that it's really hard to even call it non-duality. Scholars have hence come up with the name Neo-Advaita, and it's so different, so divorced from actual Advaita Vedanta, actual non-duality. I don't even think of them as the same thing, really. But enough about that. That's its own topic. So I'm not gonna answer your question, what do advanced non-dual teachers think, but what does non-duality, no, let me put it this way. What does actual Advaita Vedanta have to say about the law of attraction? Great question. That's a question I'm happy to work with. So here's a really deep question. What brings happiness? Because without having a clear answer to that question, first of all, life isn't going to make any sense, but neither will non-duality or the law of attraction. Let's just get really basic. What does the law of attraction say brings happiness? The law of attraction says what brings happiness is getting what you want. Said a slightly more spiritual way, being a co-creator with God, which is a fancy way of saying getting what you want. Figuring out what you want, using your mind to then manifest it. That's according to law of attraction, that's what brings happiness. Now let's contrast that with, before we contrast that, let's talk a little bit about materialism. When most people hear the phrase materialism, what they think of is a denial of anything spiritual or metaphysical, which is true. That's in general what materialism means. But what most people don't think about is what is then the logical, what is the meaning of life from a materialistic point of view? Well, from a materialistic point of view, since there is no God, there is no higher order or higher reality, the only thing that matters, the only thing that can bring even a little ounce of emotions. YouTube said the connection's a little fuzzy. Oh, there we go. YouTube there's a little blop in the connection. So whether from a material point of view, what brings happiness is getting stuff, whether that be emotions, relationships, money, experiences. And that can also be meaningful, things such as art and service. And so I'm not saying that any of these things are bad things, but I'm just pointing out that from a materialistic perspective, that's what happiness is. So as you can see, law of attraction is nothing more than a metaphysical form of materialism, that I'm going to use spiritual means to try and get happiness through getting stuff. Now let's contrast that with Advaita Vedanta, true non-duality. True non-duality says you are happiness. You already have happiness. Pursuing objects, pursuing stuff in an attempt to get happiness is actually the cause of all your suffering. Law of attraction says the cause of your suffering is not having what you want. Non-duality says, excuse me, I keep, see, the thing is the word non-duality has been so thrown around and so misused that I don't even like to use it anymore. So Advaita Vedanta says you already have what you want. You already have eternal happiness. And then Advaita Vedanta is then a systematic process of removing the blocks to the awareness of the fact that you already have eternal happiness. So as you can see, they're completely incompatible. They're just absolutely, fundamentally incompatible. Philosophically, it'd be a very interesting question. So here's my, I would love to ask Ramana Maharshi this question. He's, in my mind, one of, if not the greatest, non-dual teacher we've had in quite some time. Excuse me, Advaita Vedanta teacher. The word non-dual just tastes yucky in my mouth. I live in a town where we used to have like 5 or 6 non-dual satsangs. Like we almost had a non-dual satsang almost every night of the week, and it was all bullshit. It was all had little to nothing to do with Advaita Vedanta. So once you realize that you already have eternal happiness, once you realize, then see about manifesting. Ramana Maharshi spoke about siddhis, which are supernatural powers, which is really the whole law of attraction path is about cultivating supernatural powers, the ability to just, in essence, draw in, get, or create whatever you want. And Advaita Vedanta says the pursuit of siddhis is an absolute distraction. It will take you so far off path. Ramana Maharshi once said something like, pursuing siddhis is like pursuing scraps from the table of a meal instead of having going for the meal itself. In Advaita Vedanta, it's considered an absolute distraction. And worse, it's based in an illusion. It's based in a delusion that stuff can bring you happiness. Part of the reason why stuff can't bring you happiness is because none of it's eternal. All this world around us is constantly changing. So how can something that's constantly changing give you any lasting happiness? And Ramana pointed out that once you've attained self-realization, once you have an absolute eternal knowing of what you are, then siddhis just happen spontaneously. But it's not something that you seek out. It's something that just spontaneously happens through you. So there you go. One of the problems with the law of attraction is it increases two qualities of the mind that are detrimental to the spiritual path: tamas and rajas, specifically rajas, desire, and tamas, then more so rajas. The spiritual path from an Advaita point of view rajas is a fancy word for desire, and to decrease our level of desire so we can perceive the truth that we already have happiness. And if you're constantly seeking stuff and thinking that stuff is going to make you happy, then you're just feeding a delusion. Thanks so much. Wonderful question. Take care. Much love.